mother. He's 65 himself. And he breaks down and 9 of them have Christmas dinner. I mean, people came in from out of town. All 9 of them. He's still suffering.
Wow.
He got tested on December 28th and he still can't breathe right.
Golly. My son's living in France and he just sent me a message this morning.
They're recording now.
Excuse me?
So anything you say is being recorded.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
George, you should go back to Franco
live-
now that you're not mayor anymore.
He does
Right.
live in- he
You
does
quit
live in
going to see
France.
Franco because it's like I got to go to a barber in Clearwater. Sneaking off to Largo doesn't work. And sorry to hear about my friend Gary Katica, if everybody heard that he passed this past week, the mayor of Bel Air.
Oh, yes. Did hear that. Yeah.
You know, I lived there for a dozen years and used to walk the neighborhoods with him. Guy knew everybody in town. He walked every inch of the streets of Bel Air daily. Well, not every street daily, but every day. He walked 4 or 5 miles every day. This street, that street, stop and talk to people. Good guy.
Okay, we just have to wait a little bit longer. We need one more board member to have a quorum. So I have not heard that anybody wasn't coming. So I'm hoping we get
There's one girl she missed the last couple meetings going into.
She's new. She's Joseph, Miss Joseph.
Yes.
Her first meeting would have been our last meeting, and she missed it.
Okay.
So I'm hoping
It
to.
was something like that.
And then there's a new Miranda Douglas, I believe.
I've met her. She was
She been doing
one of the former council member who lost campaign manager. Dr. Bob, I think she was his campaign manager. I met her at one of the events. So I know who she is. She's a nice person.
Ed, of course.
Yeah, literally first time in 30 years that I walked away from a play. We were a month from opening, and they were going to go. They wanted to get it done and get it filmed. It's the Sages, and they're the playwrights out of Cove K. She, at 70 years old, decided to start writing plays. And I've been doing one particular one for her for 5 or 6 years now. Cute little story about how she met her husband. You know, after, you know, not getting over her, losing her spouse. But they do that Denying Gravity, which is the one that's been in all the fire departments, including Clearwater. It was right across the street.
Miss Douglas, Miranda.
Okay.
Oh, here you are, Douglas. Okay, yeah.
Senior Fall Awareness.
Yeah.
And now this one was called Phony Baloney. I hate the name, but it's on senior phone scams.
We've got several
You know, so
members
it's
that
the
don't know
Senior
the
Actors
face.
Guild and Educational Services. So they kind of put the cute plays aside and are doing these more serious.
Morning.
And
Good morning.
hi.
Miranda Douglas.
Are you a new member?
I am.
Oh, wonderful. And we have a quorum. I'll shut up.
Awesome.
Well, it's
I'm Kevin Laughlin. And your name again?
Miranda Douglas.
Okay, I saw you on the list, Miranda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey Miranda, I'm Wade Carlisle. Nice to meet you.
you.
Mike Grumman, Miranda. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Well, the chair is in
I'm new too, Phil Henderson.
Bigger vice chair.
Nice to meet you.
You want me
I
to?
didn't do. It is board anyway. Old in this world.
Did you say without a mask you would be here?
Yeah, you're Co, right?
Right.
Or
Right.
And I'm Ed Chesney, the board
Vice Mayor.
liaison.
Oh, nice. I've talked to you a few times. Nice to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we may get others to join us.
We need to change their names.
Do you want me to move, Pam, or what do you want me to do?
You can stay there, we
Oh,
just
okay.
need to change.
Oh, Mike will do it. Thank you.
Change names? So we all set?
All set.
Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order. And welcome everybody, welcome Miranda.
Thank you.
We have the agenda that Ed sent us. I guess everyone has a copy, right? And I understand the first item is approval of the minutes from a meeting now that took place a year ago.
Now, did everybody have a copy or had a chance to look at it? I have them extras if you need one.
I got it
The
on my.
minutes? Yeah, no, I reread them.
I reread them. Anyone have any corrections or changes or anything that needs to be made to the minutes from a year ago? If not, I guess we'll ask for a motion to approve.
All motion?
And seconded. Okay, and then I presume, Ed, let's see, are there any citizens to be heard? Is Phil here to speak, or? Phil Henderson?
No, Phil is our, a new member. He's an ex officio member.
Oh.
He's not a Clearwater resident,
Yeah.
but he's our Marine ex officio
Right.
that brings other specialties to the board. He's very familiar with the Marine and the water, so.
Right.
Several boards have ex officio members, not all, but the Marine board has it, Air Park board has it, and Phil is our ex officio. So he doesn't vote, but he does get involved in conversation.
I did see that written down somewhere, and now I remember that, so welcome, Phil, and of course, always enjoy your vote, and Jen's been great to us a number of times, so thanks. So second of all, we have, or moving along, we have new business items, and I guess we'll turn to Ed. You have a variety of things that you wanted to cover?
Yeah, this year, everybody's been off for a year. We've got a lot of members. All boards have lost members, got new members. So we're taking the opportunity, this first meeting for all the board members is to go back and really look at the powers and duties that are defined by code. And they're pretty uniform for most of the boards. This board is a little bit different. It has a little more, a little broader scope. So we just wanted you guys to discuss those if you've read them, and make sure that if you have any questions of what we're really asking of this board to do, and how involved we'd like you to be. So I'll let you guys now discuss it, but we're going to go back to council, and they want to hear from all of the board liaisons through the minutes and whatnot, what the new boards are comfortable with, what they're not comfortable with, and make sure that they understand what they're actually being asked to do.
So the only thing that caught my eye when I read these was the board shall initiate studies. Now, I don't think in the years that I've done it anyway that I ever remember initiating a study. We're usually reacting to issues brought forward by you or citizens occasionally, or us occasionally.
Well, and it's not necessarily, I think that you initiate them. I mean, you bring them up, you discuss them.
Sure.
There are things that we do, the city staff does. So that is kind of initiate, meaning that you might take on that role of actually doing all of the work, which I guess you could. But in the past, since I've been here, we do certain studies. We do marina studies, we do rate studies, we do different studies that we bring back to you and ask you all to concur or disagree with as far as if they're responsible or if they relate to our mission at the marinas and the city waterways at large.
Right. It certainly appears to me that that's what happens. You and your predecessor, bring in data, observations, ideas, most of which you've already done a thorough job of in terms of homework. And it really becomes a question of us, just reacting to and perhaps occasionally thinking of something that hadn't been mentioned before, or bringing, just commentary from things we already know from our own boating activities or residents that have commented to us, to me occasionally. And that's fine, I guess.
I think personally our last real meeting showed what effect we can have. I mean, the discussion of the raising of the rates on so many people, that was, I think, maybe in 4 years, the first time I felt like we're really affecting lives here.
Yeah.
And of course, we didn't know how bad the COVID was going to be when we made those decisions. So when we get to that point, I know you're going to review that later, so I won't get too much into it. But I think it was, you felt like you were doing something. You know, yes, we are behind and we're losing money and, you know, these people are not getting away with robbery, but when you say it's half the rate of 10 miles down the coast, and we have a better marina, and we'll soon have a way better marina, you know, that you felt right in doing it, but you felt like you were having an effect over people. But besides that, it's the same codes I looked over before I signed up 4 years ago.
Miranda, as a new member, I mean, you're just getting your feet wet, so.
Literally. But I agree. I'm a part of some other boards, and so we have initiated research. We have talked about what we do and how it affects the community. So I'm fair game. This is a new industry for me, but serving on a board in this capacity, I'm pretty familiar with. So I'm open to what's required.
Okay, great. And then Phil, did you have any comment? Are you're fine with the defined scope of the board?
Yeah, I believe so. I didn't receive that. All I received was the agenda. But I just was trying to look up
Yeah,
something there.
in the agenda, Phil, embedded, anytime you see like a number underlined, you can
Okay.
click on that and that would have popped up for you. That's new, the way we're doing this now, so you might not have picked up on that. But all of the items have the backup with them. They're hyperlinked.
Okay. Showing my age.
Okay, so any other comments on powers and duties? I guess we're all fine. I guess the summary is we're certainly fine with what's there. Miranda?
My only question is, I think my term technically ends in March, and then I would get reappointed or reelected, or does that make?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch it.
From what I understand, that my term, I'm filling in for someone else's end of term. So would I be reelected or revoted in or something?
Yes. When somebody leaves early, they fill that position, and it might only be for one meeting, and I think that's your case.
Right.
So then, if you're interested in staying on, you are the front runner of that. So I believe that there's a bunch of them I have like that on this board, that they're ending their first term, and I think that Judy might have called you already and asked
She
you if
did.
you're interested in staying on.
Yeah, I had to actually reapply.
Yes,
And
she did
so-
the same for
so
me.
Miranda, has that happened to you? Nobody has contacted you yet?
I
Or?
did get an email, I think it was from Judy, but I didn't get an application or any further instructions.
Okay, well, we'll follow up with that, but she
I
had,
think you'll need a new application. You need a new application every year.
Oh, okay,
And if you were just appointed,
okay,
I think the same one goes.
all right.
so they'll reappoint all of you at the next, I think it's in March, April meeting, or so the next meeting coming up, there's gonna be a bunch of reappointments.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so your second item was the meeting frequency. Obviously, it's been a little light for a year.
Yeah, we thought maybe once a
But-
year was,
Yeah, I'd not suggest that we stay with one a year. I thought once a quarter worked fairly well. The only thing that surprised me in the last year is that we never even considered a Zoom meeting or something of that sort. I don't know if that would have made sense, but I certainly would have been willing to participate in that.
well, and others have expressed that interest too. It's not this board, it's board-wide. Those Zoom meetings are very hard to put together. They're very cumbersome, and they're very expensive on the city to have so many broadcast and all the people at the different times when they were going to happen. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, they never did that. So that's really the only excuse that I have for that.
Okay, well, going forward, I assume we'll be able to meet quarterly as before.
Yep, that's our plan. Some boards are discussing meeting, more than quarterly. We always have the ability to meet more than quarterly if we want to do a special meeting or have any kind of, if there was any need for us to meet more than quarterly, 2 months in a row, for example, if we were working on something or needed something. There's nothing that inhibits us doing that. But to have a meeting every month, just to have a meeting, that's the discussion. So the topic now is whether you guys are comfortable, you think quarterly suits our mission, and if we need to add different extra meetings during the year, we have that ability to do so.
Yeah, maybe a major storm or something like that where immediate reactions
Good
are
point.
needed. I mean, the last storm, the whole rebuild of the wave actuators and things, that happened in a timely fashion, so I don't think we needed a special meeting, but that storm could have been worse. And I'd always be open to, the COVID's kind of forced me into retirement, so I'm sitting there waiting for you guys to call.
So quarterly and additional as needed, and I think that was a good suggestion. Storm-related certainly could be a good reason to have to get together. The month for the board's annual report, isn't that kind of fixed? It's like May or something, isn't it?
Since I've been on this board, we have never done an annual with council that I can recall. So some boards do them every year. The environmental board is a good example of one board that meets every year. So now council is wanting to hear from all of the boards. So we're asked to pick a meeting. There are usually 2 meetings in every month. So we would choose a month and a date, meeting date, and that would be the opportunity for the chair. We would meet before that, our meeting before that, discuss what we're gonna, bring up, and then the chair would go and represent the board, just at, right before I think it's before the meeting start, as a presentation, 5 minutes. Just let the board, commission board, council board know what we're working on, and then you guys can, kind of get some feedback from them in that respect. So we meet quarterly now, so this is March, April, May, June would be our next meeting, July, August, September. So it might make sense to have a couple meetings under our belt this year before we decide to go before council. We don't want to go next month, we've just met. So looking at their agenda, we can go any month you guys feel comfortable with, and if that's not available, that we have to work with the official records as they schedule these things, because you can't have all the boards meeting on the same month. So I was asked to kind of zero in on a month and a date within that month, and then let the clerk's office squeeze all these boards in and make them fit to be a reasonable meeting date.
So let me try to remember how this was done. I personally never had any involvement in the process. I think Member O'Brien did, and I forget who the chairman was before him, gentleman that moved out of Clearwater. But in any event, I know they met with you or your predecessor and probably discussed or prepared the material. And I think that I'm trying to remember if that presentation was reviewed here before it was done with the council or after it was presented to the council.
I think it would have probably been before.
Yeah.
And then maybe discussed after, if there were, any direction or comments by council. But yeah, generally, the board would get together to make sure that if there was something, because only one speaker, you all can be here, but it's just the chair speaking. So
Right.
If Ms. Douglas had something she wanted the meeting, bring up at the meeting, you would present that, and likewise with the others. So
Right. So given that, and yes, it seems like it'd be certainly appropriate to have at least a June and maybe a September meeting. So it seems like the earliest that it might logically occur would be October. That is with the council.
October.
That's what it sounds like.
I think so. That's a good month.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 meetings in October. I don't have the dates in front of me, so if you just wanted to maybe pick one of those. Oh, is that
It's the first and third Thursday.
the first and fifth? No, first and third. It's either the first or third Thursday in October. I don't have a calendar, so. Oh, did you print that out?
So it's either October 7th or
7th or
October
21st.
21st.
Excuse me, I just talked. I had all that here and didn't know I had it. Okay, so that would be October 7th or 21st.
Oh, sounds like what you just said.
So either one of those, we'll pick him now as just our target date, and then if that doesn't work, you'll know well beforehand.
Either one is fine with me. I don't have a preference.
I don't either. I think it'll be after hurricane season, right? So we'll have a good,
Almost.
almost.
Right,
It's longer every year.
right.
So no preference? there?
21, I'll throw a number out. October 21?
Sure.
21.
Yes.
October 21.
Oops, that's fall. No, I'm kidding.
Whoops. Somebody's birthday?
Starts in May. Wow.
Oh, that's November.
Okay,
It's 2 weeks early there. Yeah,
so we have to re-elect officers again?
that time of year.
Okay. Election of officers is next.
Last year we re-elected Ed, and then you took
Right. I think I was re-elected too. Is Ed still with us, I presume?
I haven't heard from him. You know, he usually calls whenever the agenda goes out, but he had not called this time, and I didn't call on him. But
Well, I'll take motions for chair.
what do you feel all right about it, Mike?
I'd be willing to do it. I sort of hesitate to do it in Ed's absence, because I'd be happy to nominate Ed again, and I think he always did a good job, and I think he was okay doing it. But I suppose, I don't know, is it appropriate to nominate Ed in his absence and then find out if he's well with us?
If we nominate Ed, we elect Ed, and then he ends up, for some reason, not returning to us, we just would re-elect somebody to take his place? Is that where number 2 would move up and we'd elect another number 2?
It's all up to you,
It's up to us.
but you do need to elect a new person.
All right, so we need a motion from somebody.
I move we keep Ed. I like him.
All right, all
Okay,
right.
could I have a second,
Motion and
please?
seconded, all right?
All in
So-
favor?
Aye. So he's chairman.
And then we need a vice chair.
Okay,
You'll stay as vice chair?
I'm happy to do it, sure.
I move that Mike stays as vice chair.
Seconded.
all right, no arm twisting.
All right, that was easy, especially with
Did
Ed
we
not,
vote? Did we
especially with
vote on
Ed
that?
not here to object.
Did we vote on that?
All in favor?
Ah, yes,
All in
aye,
favor?
thank
Aye.
you.
Phil, did you? I thought.
I do have a question now, I've read over this stuff. The terms, how long have all of you been on this board?
I'm due, I think, today to be reappointed, or whenever they do the reappointment. This is
End of your first term.
end of my first term or the beginning of my second, if I'm accepted. I'm sure they've got my application. I don't know why I wouldn't be.
Yeah.
I think I'm in the same position, so if June is the beginning of a new term, then I'm about to begin a second term.
Same, I'm about to begin my second.
Yeah.
I was in that confusing where when I came on from the nuisance board to here, I was filling in for a month or so, or for a meeting or so for somebody before me, and then I think I officially started in March, but it could have been June.
Yeah. No, there were 3. It was, when I looked at it, I was like, oh my God, 3 of them are expiring. So if all 3 of you didn't want to stay on for a second term, usually they go 2 terms.
Yeah.
So then we would be like, the board would be really deficient in members. But then I talked to Judy, and Judy said she had contacted everybody. They're interested in their second term. So this may be your last meeting. I think it is your last meeting. Then the next meeting would start your second term, if my memory is correct. Now, Ed, then the others are on a different rotation. So I think Ed is,
That's probably pretty,
he might be ready to term out, but not this meeting. I have to look at what year. It might be next year that he's,
he's been here
Yeah,
since
I
I
don't
was
know.
young.
The reason why I was asking is, it seems like 2 years isn't really long enough to.
Wait, 4 years.
Meeting quarterly,
That's
you know,
4
by the time you get ramped up, well, according to this, it says no more than 2 years.
Oh, no, I should say no more than 2 terms.
Yeah, 2 terms,
Yeah, the term is,
but they're 4-year terms.
4-year terms.
no, it says 12 months.
That's for the officers. Officers is
Oh, okay.
Officers, okay.
What is it? Okay, 4 years, all right.
And then I think even if you do 2 terms and the board is unable to fill your seat, there is a little
Right. I'm
loophole to get through to say, stay for another term because we got no one else.
okay, well,
Which is
my
what I'm-
point was, 2 one-year terms isn't really long enough to have an effect on, to get the experience you might need. I have in the marine industry, so I've got a little bit more than some others may have, but, the 2 4-year terms makes much more sense, so I missed that. My apologies.
Then you get a plaque.
Do we ever have a meat dinner again?
Oh, yes, geez, in June, usually June, right?
Or May, April? I don't think there's one this year.
Not this
Oh,
year, I
well.
think it's already been announced as canceled.
But
Oh,
when we
yeah,
have
already.
a party, woo-hoo! Plaques for
Let's have a little Zoom happy hour.
There you go.
Well, it's nice because you get to see who's on the other boards. My friend Ashley Pimley's on the environmental board, and
No, 4
there's
years.
somebody on another board. So,
Read too fast.
Okay, so we took care of the officers, so I think we are ready to move to old business items. And with respect to the last meeting, I guess the thing that I'm most curious about is given a year's delay due to COVID, what's the status of the marina rebuild?
The rebuild is a 2023, 2024 construction project.
Okay.
So the status has not changed. It's still in our CIP for those years. What we are doing now and what I'm doing now is I'm in the final stages of the RFP for the design consultant. There'll be 2 RFPs that go out for this project. One will be RFQs, request for qualifications, to bring on a design professional to design the new marina. So what that means is they're going to take all of our previous studies, all our previous surveys, our existing conditions, all of these things under consideration, and they're going to give us a proposal to design the new marina. So that'll be some architectural engineering design firm that works in the marina industry. Once that team is at 30% roughly design, we're going to release the second RFP for a construction manager at risk, they call that. This construction manager will take the design from 30% and bring it to construction plans, and they will actually build the project. So this design effort will last a year. So we are going to begin this process in the summer of '21. By the summer of '22, I hope to be well at the end of the permitting phases, because I want to start the project. There's some upland components to the project, utility work that will go on behind the seawall. So that'll start in, my hope is summer, fall of '22. So by '23, we can get the utility work in before we actually start the marina project. So it's going to be a very, and I'm going to say challenging, because it is going to be challenging, because the goal of the project is to have as little disruption to the users of the marina as possible. Now, that's not going to be possible in all instances, but we're not shutting down the businesses that run charters and fishing tours out of there. We may have to move them, and we will have to move them. So the project's going to be phased, and it's going to be a very thought-out phasing process, okay? We can't do a complete demolition of the marina. The easiest thing to do would have an open slate. When we built the marina downtown, there was nothing there. We weren't bothering anybody. We had all the time, and everything was, easy to do. This is not going to be like that. We've got somebody like Phil, for example, who's got several businesses over there. They'll be displaced during this process. So that's also going to be part of the design, is the phasing and how we're going to temporarily displace these businesses, demo part of an area, rebuild this part, move the vessels back in. So as you can see, that's going to be a big challenge. And that's going to be part of the selection criteria too. We're not going to hire somebody unless they convince us that they have thought out a way to successfully construct this project, knowing that they have to not disrupt these businesses for 2 years. And it will be a 2-year project at a minimum to get to get that marina built.
I had one thought about the impact on people having to move their boats, and it doesn't apply to the really big boats, because what I'm about to say, they wouldn't fit under the little bridge. And maybe the timing is not real good with 23 to 24, but behind the Courtyard Marriott there that's been built, somebody has put in some gorgeous floating docks, and a whole lot of them. And I wondered if there was any conversation between you and whoever that somebody is. I don't know the gentleman. I do know of him through a friend, Joe Burdett. Whether it makes any sense to consider whether or not any of his slips would be available for people that have to move.
That's a good suggestion. I have not talked to anybody. I mean, they're not open yet, but
Right.
that is a very nice facility there. And we will definitely be looking for slips. You know, the city will be able to move boats downtown.
I'll get
We
you his.
We have slips at that marina that'll be open. And as we get closer and slips become empty, we're not gonna fill a slip right before we're ready to demolish. So we'll start taking slips out of service at that time to have as few, slips to people to move around. I'm working with the Island Estate slips that are behind the aquarium there. That's another location we can put vessels temporarily, recreational vessels. It's the commercial vessels that are gonna be the ones I'm most concerned about. The recreational, if we have to displace them in another marina or one of our marinas, or even at some of our public docks, we have public docks that we could take out of service for a period and put some vessels there. The Sand Pearl has docks, so those are opportunities for us. And the Marriott, I wasn't thinking of, that's a commercial operation, so obviously I don't think they're gonna give us anything for free. So I with the city would look at our assets first and then see how to displace them. But one of the things I'm looking at very seriously is creating a mooring field as an accessory use to the marina, which then would allow the city at that same time as construction to drop some mooring balls out just off the south side of the Causeway Bridge, where there's a big mooring community there now. But I could permit that area as a mooring field and then put boats out there on temporary floating, docks or whatnot and then the boats could come in, pick up their passengers and go just moor out there. We might have some centralized pickup for some of these charters that would be different than they each have their individual today. So those are things that would still have to be worked out.
I've had that gentleman's name before that owns the hotel and the slips. I'll get it and I'll send it to you. I don't imagine that anything is, first of all, it's way too soon, and he's not going to keep slips open until 23, 24 just for you. But on the other hand, if he has slips available in 23, 24, and if people need a place to go, and if you knew of that, I would imagine the boat owner would just pay him directly instead of paying you for 3 months or 6 months or
Absolutely,
whatever.
yep.
So I'll pass the name to you.
Where is this new build at?
The Courtyard Marriott, it's, what's that called? East
On
Street?
East Shore.
East Shore?
So
So it's-
south when you get out to the
It's a
beach.
few hundred yards north of the causeway.
Oh, north.
Yes.
Oh, okay, where
It's
the
in
new
Mandalay
In the
Channel
Mandalay
on the
Channel,
north
yes.
side.
I have not been getting down to the beach enough.
I'll pass that to you. Okay.
How fast do you think you're gonna pursue that mooring field permit?
Well, I'm working right now, there is not a ordinance. Clearwater doesn't have a mooring field as a defined definition. So we cannot just permit it. So I'm working with the legal department. I've talked to legal and to planning. We have to create an ordinance to do that, and that can happen fairly quickly. And then the city would permit that through the county and the Army Corps. So that is something in the work plan for the next 6 to 12 months.
Takes that long, huh? So how far south of the causeway is it out to the channel?
Yes,
So you can control that whole area, because that needs to be controlled.
that's my plan.
Right, and that's a good way to do it, so I was hoping it could be ramped up a little quicker than that.
So, but there's just some challenges now because there are no mooring fields in Clearwater. We've never permitted one because we don't recognize it as a defined use. which doesn't mean that we can't do that, it's just not in our code of ordinance.
Reason why I bring it up, it's personally for a business in the marina with the largest vessel in that turning basin, when the wind's out of the east, those vessels that are on the edge of that mooring area are hanging off into the area that we really need to maneuver safely. And we've talked to the Coast Guard about it, and they say, well, the path that goes like through here, it's this wide, and they're not actually in that space, but it's extremely, it narrows it up extremely, quite a bit. And of course, the boats, a lot of boats that are out there are not the best boats in shape and so forth. So I just think it's gonna be a good thing if the city can control that.
And what's very unique about that area, and on the north side too, the south side of the causeway, the city owns all those bottomlands. There is a stretch of land from the mainland all the way to the marina beach. All of those bottomlands, 1,200-foot wide swath, is owned by the city. So that even makes the permitting that much easier, because we don't have to go through a submerged land lease with the state. Most, 99% of everything else out there is state-owned. But in this situation, the city, and the reason we own that is because it was granted to us to build the Causeway Bridge back in 1925. We've got our third bridge, I think, at this point. But we're always building that bridge and the causeway on those bottomlands. And the other excess has been where our marinas are built. Both downtown is all on city-controlled bottomlands. The beach marina is all city-controlled bottomlands. Behind the aquarium, that marina that was there, that's all city-controlled bottomlands. So it's the perfect example of the city permitting a mooring field there as an accessory use to our existing marina. Far easier than if you just were, a regular citizen wanting to permit a mooring field. You don't have the upland support or all of the other things that you need in that permitting. We have everything you need, and so the permitting would be fairly easy for us.
Speaking of the aquarium, I volunteer on the dive team there, and I know for a while, I thought that those slips behind the aquarium were also going to be redone with floating docks for a while. Is that stopped? Or was it never planned?
It has never started.
Okay.
There's always been
Yes,
talk.
never
There's
started.
always been talk of that.
All right, it's never firm plan.
But it was never beyond
Okay.
that.
All right.
There are plans to do things over there, but they have not taken off yet. I've heard those same talks about plans, and
Okay.
they've just been talks.
Would that be city managed, or would that be aquarium managed? They retain some kind of right to those docks?
They have no rights to the docks. Those docks are all city controlled.
Oh.
The aquarium leases a majority of those docks. So I'm working now with the aquarium to help facilitate some of those things. The city manages those docks. They're rented on a month-to-month basis, and the aquarium's been renting them monthly for years, decades. So they're not, those docks, they're an accessory again to the beach marina, but you have to realize too that as the aquarium has grown, they've, just almost taken out those docks, because those docks don't have the same amenities as a regular marina would have. There's no parking associated with the area. They're older docks, and they need a lot of upgrade. They're not big enough for some of the aquarium's needs. They don't have water and electric at every slip. So we've been going in and redoing some of the docks along the west side, and the aquarium has had docks everywhere. So my plan is to put all the aquarium docks together in one location, bring them out of the area, a slip here, a slip here, a slip there, a slip there, and then have some defined area for them, and then their plans to redo the docks to suit their needs would happen. So right now, there's been talk about floating docks for the aquarium. Where would they go? So if the aquarium had some area that they were going to focus on, all of their slips to be in this area, then they could do their project like that. So that's what we're planning there.
One other comment on the south side of the causeway, just so you're aware in case you weren't. Having a mooring field is going to have secure moorings. They're all at anchor right now, and we had an issue in the last 12 months. We had a situation where we had to cancel a cruise in the Starlight Majesty because one of the sailboats had drug anchor out into the channel. It was a strong east wind, and he had a little John boat trying to pull the thing back up. He couldn't get out of the way, and it was too risky for us to try and go around him with a strong east wind with the fuel dock being there. So we actually had to cancel a cruise because of the situation. So we really need to support him on getting that turned into a mooring field with proper moorings that we control. City standpoint.
But this mooring field's still on a temporary idea, though. We want a mooring field there to get us through the construction, and then the mooring field will go away, or will we?
You could do it as temporary, but I see it as permanent.
Okay.
We would permit it, it would be an accessory use to the marina, we would use it to our benefit, for overflow or for whatever we wanted, but it would give us the ability to control that area. So if we had a permitted mooring field there now, and with our anchored balls there, you just couldn't moor there. That's the way that the state rules are, so what's there now would have to leave, and even if our mooring field was sparsely filled, they would not be allowed to come and moor in that area.
So if you have a mooring field, does that preclude people from anchoring?
Yes, within the limits of that.
Ah,
There are anchoring rules. You have to anchor
good idea.
300 feet away from a permitted mooring field, and
Yeah.
I think 300 feet is the distance, but generally you'll have moorings around mooring fields, but you cannot moor unless you're a applicant or permittee of that mooring field. So if any of those boats wanted to moor there, they would have to come to us and lease the mooring space, just like anybody else would.
And you've already got the onshore support stuff you need.
Yeah.
Marine.
Super. Okay. Other items from the March meeting, minutes?
Did we actually
The
raise
rentals, the
rates
fees,
with
yeah.
COVID coming in that we talked?
No,
Yeah,
we
that's right.
never did. At our last meeting, we had a lot of discussion about rate increases, and we talked about some of the service increases, particularly the trash.
Yeah.
A week to 2 weeks after our meeting is when the lockdown began, so I never moved forward with any of that. So we had no rate increases of any kind last year. In fact, we tried to work with all of the tenants there and offered them some relief, with some, putting some of their couple of months' rents on the back end to get through that shutdown and such. So we had a lot of people took advantage of that. We didn't charge rent for the commercial tenants in April and May. And we gave them till the end of the year to pay that. Not everybody took advantage of that. Some people just continued their lease payments. Those that did take advantage of it have since all paid. So we are 100% whole after the shutdown. So you guys made recommendations, and they were recommendations based on our meeting last year and the rate study and how we would look at increases. There's no secret that the rates at the marina are low, and I'm talking about for the commercial rates. The recreational rates are really not out of line with other marinas. So when I came on, we had rate studies. I've got a shelf full of rate studies, none of which have ever been followed. None of the recommendations that had ever been, I shouldn't say none, many of the recommendations hadn't been implemented, and every rate study says that the Clearwater municipal marina commercial sector is under market, severely under market, way under market. These are the terms you find in those reports, based on others. So how do you fix that? You can't just double somebody's rate, you can't triple somebody's rate. So we had been trying to bring it up to a level that made sense. And some of the other things that we did early on was we added the water feature. We pay $10,000 to $12,000 a month water bills out at the marina. Well, the water, when you look at operations, so we have 50 commercial slips out there. So these are 50 businesses that would be in Clearwater, whether they rented a building on a street corner or they're at the marina. When you have a commercial operation, you have electricity, in your building, commercial people pay for electricity. You have water in your building, you pay for the water. You have trash service, you pay for trash service. There's no commercial, you couldn't be a commercial business without utilities. There's certain things you have to have, and one of those are utilities. So over the years, water used to be very cheap. Water right now is more than electricity. So over the years, they say, remember when water was free? Well, water's not free anymore. And what's even worse than paying for the water, it's getting rid of it. And that's the sewer bill. So all of the water that we use, we're paying sewer on it too. So it made sense to put the meters in there. Now, the users, they didn't have to pay it. And, Phil's one here that enjoyed some of those services over the years. He never complained when we added the water meter. But the thing was that when water's free, hoses are left on, that things are leaking. We would walk past slips and turn people's hoses off, tell them, could you fix this? Because the water just flowed. So as soon as we put the meters on, guess what? Our bills went down. Everybody got new hoses. Everybody fixed their leaks. People started, it's like you're at your own house, When it's free, it's free. Right. So that worked out beautifully. We put 50 water meters on, and the bills aren't that high. If you're a big user of it, it's no different than what you pay at your house. But we don't make a penny on water. We charge exactly what we get the bill, and then the individual meters, they pay their usage rate. No markup, nothing. It's just a pass-through. Same with the electricity. All those electric meters, we do the pass-through type things. Not all of them, some of them are in their own names as well, but we're not making money off of utilities. So when it comes to the garbage is the same way now. We have 2 compactors out at the marina that they're in and out of there every other day dumping those compactors. The restaurants out there, all the upland users pay for trash, recycling, stormwater fee, all those things that are associated with that bill. So now we have another compactor that is for the marina itself, the marina users. All the restaurants pay, Krabby Bill's, Marina Cantina, everybody pays their $4,000 to $7,000 a month for the use of, and other things go into their bin as well because they're not separate. So we don't police that says, no, that's the restaurant's compactor, but everybody's supposed to use the compactor in the east. So that's the one that the city is paying. That was where I looked at the bills. And again, with the commercial businesses out there that get deliveries and are on cruises every day, most of the trash in those compactors are from the commercial marina tenants. The other tenants are not really big users, but when you run these tours every day, 7 days a week, in and out, we're paying those costs. So how do you look at something like that? So I said, well, let's draw some lines here. Okay, we have a compactor for the marina, all users of the marina, not the restaurants. So I did some calculations, and I said I averaged the last 4 months. This was at our meeting last year, and I said the average monthly bill for that compactor was $3,400 a month that we paid. That's a lot of money for garbage. So I said, let's cut that in half. So we're going to say that the commercial businesses use half of that. And to be honest with you, they use more than half of that. So we'll cut that in half, and that's $1,700 a month. The marina as whole is paying for garbage service for all these tour boats and operators. So okay, how do you say who are the biggest users? So I kind of broke it down into tiers. We have our smaller fishing fleets. We have the different tour boats that go out. We have the bigger restaurant boats. We have the other party boats. So I broke it down into 4 tiers, and I kind of based it on. And I'm trying to remember. I had my cheat sheet here from yesterday. I said tier 1 was 6 passengers or less. We have a passenger. Everything is passenger related with our marina, which is an awkward way that we bill things, but in no sense. We have 6 passengers or less. There are 17 commercial businesses that have 6-passenger or less status, which is 8% of our users. Tier 2 is 7 to 39 passengers. In that category, we have 17 businesses in that category. So Tier 3, 40 to 69 passengers, there's 6 users in this group. And then Tier 4, which is 70 and above passengers, there's 10 in that group. So using that strategy, the contribution, I came up with a strategy. I said Tier 1, that they would contribute 8%, Tier 2, 12%, Tier 3, 20%, and Tier 4, 60%. The bigger boats that are out have the most trash, recyclables, cardboard, all this stuff that we see in those dumpsters. So if you were a Tier 1 fishing contractor, fishing boat, for a month, your garbage bill would be $8.09. If you're
Per
a
user.
residential
Per
homeowner,
user.
your garbage bill is
Yeah.
$50 a month.
Yeah.
That's based on the $1,700, half of the bill divided times 8% for that tier.
Mm-hmm.
So 8% of 1,700 is $137 divided by 17, it's $8.09 for Tier 1. Tier 2 would see a monthly trash bill of $12.15. Tier 3 would be $57.37. When you start getting to Tier 3 and Tier 4, you're really at like a residential garbage rate. Commercial garbage rate in Clearwater is a lot higher than a residential garbage rate. The Tier 4 user, your average monthly bill, or your monthly bill would be $103. Bill, our member over here has the Tier 4 status, so if we go forward with this, you would see a $100 a month garbage bill.
I'm out.
Break 'em.
So, okay, and so where does this money go? You know, the marina is falling apart. Nobody's gonna deny that. All of this money that we make from the users goes right back into the investment. The city doesn't take any of the money. We're an enterprise fund. So we either self-support ourselves or we go away. There's no other way to do it. So all of these, you know, with the water money we're making in, we're no shortage of water leaks. We open up the sidewalk behind the marina every couple of months and fix all those things. Phil sees us when we do that. Who pays for all of that? The marina pays for it. All of this trash, all of these compactors, all of these things, we pay these bills every single month. And so just when you're paying your bills at the end of the month, there's not much left over to save. So we're saving for the marina rebuild. I'm putting out an RFP in several months that's going to be $1 million design order. And $1 million that we have saved over the years for this process, not dipping into our construction money. You know, we have held that for the project. I can't afford to take $1 million out of my construction money to design the project. So all of these efforts, increasing the rates, charging for utilities, these were all things that are in every single rate study that we have done over the last 20 years. The only thing we've ever done over the last 20 years is slightly raise rates. Oh, there's a blimp in the economy, let's lower them. And then we can go back up again and then lower them. We never got anywhere on that. And to the benefit of the others, nobody's ever left the marina because our rates are too high. Nobody's ever complained that our rates are too high. And as we start to increase the things, they all realize that it makes sense. They want to be there. They want to contribute to the success of the marina. Their successes have been because of the marina. So it's a very good relationship. So the proposal last year was to not increase. Most increases in rent have been across the board. Well, we can't do across the board equally because the businesses don't operate equally. Some of these tour boats go out 2 or 3 times a day. The small fishing boats, they feel that the rates, if you're going to increase something 10% across the board, that's not fair. We go out, if we're lucky, once a day. We go out, everybody has their own sad tale, and we listen to all those. So when we did some increases, 10% a year, 2 years in a row. So last year, we haven't had an increase in 2 years. So this year, we're talking about, again, using that tier system, do a 5 and 10, 3 and 7. You know, I think you guys looked at some of those last year, so we're not gonna do across-the-board rates there. We're gonna do some, again, some of a tier rating service. Some of the different users will get different increases. Because not everybody has the same footprint in the marina. Some of the other businesses have larger footprints, so we have to look at the equity there. So that's why I wanted you guys to look again at the recommendations from last year. The city manager has the ability to impose fees and services, which are utilities and such, and raise rates, lower rates. Those are all things that are in our code of ordinances to do. And we do those things based on rate studies. We do rate studies every 2 years. And based on our rate studies, the things that we're asking to do now are still within acceptable below standard limits.
So you didn't do any rate increases from last March, and you didn't do the trash fees yet?
I've not done that.
Okay, and so are you proposing to now, you said you're looking at something, but are you proposing to do it soon, or?
Well, I wanted you guys to reaffirm your recommendations from last year, if that's your choice, and then I'm going to, yes, pursue that over
Well,
the next
the
month
trash
or so.
fees, as I recall, certainly sounded reasonable, and I think we talked last year in terms of I thought we talked in terms of a 3% increase, was that? is that true?
3%
Last
was for recreational users.
meeting. Yes,
That's just the, you
Okay.
know, the boats that are there.
and that's still
Used,
where
yeah.
you are?
That's fine.
Yeah,
And then we
all right.
talked, we did 3% recreational, 5% tiers 1 and 2,
Okay,
10% tiers 3 and 4,
okay.
based on that same tier system. And again, when you talk about a 5% increase on tier 1, that's about $20 a month. So these are not big increases. When you talk about a 10% on a tier 2, that is about $200 a month. And there's only one at that price. The largest boat we have would be a $200 increase approximately. And then the next one, a 10%, might be a $120 a month increase. But 10%, I mean, it sounds like a lot, but 5%, 10% on some of the smaller slip rents that are $440 a month, $520 a month. When we know that these businesses make that in one day, and some make double that in one day when they go out. So it's not a hardship by any means. And those days are not every day, 365 days a year. I agree with that. There's weather considerations, there's seasonal considerations, there's COVID considerations. But I doubt there's an operator out there today that does not make his slip rent in one day.
That's a valid point.
And I might get challenged on that, but I mean, I'm just telling the facts, you know.
One good day.
Pardon?
One good day.
One good day.
I know, you know, it's not our marina, but the Clearwater Marina behind Seminole, north of Seminole there is Clearwater,
Mhm.
not owned by Clearwater, but it's a
The
Clearwater.
Clearwater Basin
Clearwater
Marina, yes.
I sold my last boat a couple years ago, but I think they had just bumped it up to $600. I had a 30-foot boat. It was $5,000 a year.
Wow.
And of course that was a lift in a slip. You know, the lift came with it, but it drove me to, you know, to sell my boat. I hadn't put gas in it yet, and it was $6,000 a year. So.
Well, you know, for the Clearwater Beach Marina, it's a superior location.
Yeah.
We have never have anybody leave. We have a waiting list on every slip size. The commercial slips is a 20-year waiting list. The only way you leave is if you sell your business. And that's happened. That's how new users come in. You put a canoe in your slip, and that's your business, and you sell that canoe for $250,000.
I'm gonna buy a new boat.
So that's the model we have.
That's very interesting.
City of St. Petersburg's done away with that. I have a 40-foot hatters that I keep at the downtown, St. Pete Marina, the city marina there. And, I pay about $600 a month for that. And, they don't allow you to sell the boat in the slip. If I sell that boat, it's gotta leave. So, I was all ready to sell my boat for a lot more, but there's a waiting list there as well. They say, oh, no, if you sell the boat, if you're no longer the owner of the boat that's in that slip, then that's gotta be, that's gone.
Oh, you can't sell the boat with the slip,
Wow.
the right to the slip?
Yeah, so I've been on the list forever for commercial boat, for commercial slips if one comes open, but they'll never come open because we allow them to sell their business, whatever that business may be. And like you said, I could take a canoe and put it in the Starlight Majesty slip and sell it for, whatever somebody's willing to pay. But while I have the floor, let me ask you another question. You say that you're trying to break even in the marina and it always goes back in. Somehow I was under the impression that the city wants you to make the marina work to pay for the lifeguards and the beach operations.
That's
and
parking. Parking fund does that.
Parking fund does that, okay. That's right, I got them crossed up there. So,
The parking is an enterprise fund, and it pays for beach lifeguards and, I think some Pier 60 stuff, but the marina fund does not, no money leaves the marina lot. It all stays there.
So up until now, we've been running a negative budget where the city has to take general funds and put into it, or has the marina been self-sufficient all along?
The marina fund is self-sufficient. It's never been completely within the, we have reserve limits we need to maintain. Every enterprise fund has to have a minimum reserve. And when I came on board, we were below that reserve. We are now healthy above those reserves. Some of the, increases helped that. There were things, the marina's a big operation. We have the beach marina, the downtown marina, Seminole Boat Ramp, Island Estates. The marina, a lot of things came out of the marina fund for other areas, which does not happen anymore. So we're keeping all of our money there. Downtown keeps its money. Everybody has their own reserve fund, which they operate as little separate businesses all under one umbrella. So none of the money that the users pay at the beach marina leaves the beach marina for any other use. We do a lot of other things in the department: waterway maintenance, boat ramps, public docks. The beach marina used to pay for all that stuff. They do not anymore. That's where the general fund money comes in. Waterway maintenance and things outside of the marina that are not, that the users do not get benefit out of, do not pay for. So that was a big cleanup correction that we made several years ago.
That's good to hear, because I thought that the marina was supporting quite a bit of other projects.
Absolutely not. I can promise you
I'm
that.
complaining about the rates, because you are correct, they're under market. I don't want you to raise my rates, but they're under market. But,
And that's an honest, and I appreciate Phil saying that, because everybody will say it, privately, because they don't want to leave. And we don't want them to leave. But what we're trying to do is make the experience, what it should be. Beach walk dead ends into a marina that's falling apart. So we have to do something to spruce that area up. And I want to bring beach walk around behind the marina walk, if you will, to have that thing a nicer experience and not have all of these aged docks and infrastructure out there. So those are our goals. Those are my goals and my challenge, and Mike here as well as our operations manager, to try to implement all those things. So we have a big couple of years ahead of us, and like I told you all, I built the downtown marina. I was the project manager. I worked through design, permitting, construction. So I know some of the pitfalls. Was it perfect? No. Did it turn out perfect? Yes. Were there mistakes? Probably. But we fixed them all. So this is going to be a challenge for us. But it's a challenge that we can handle. And we're going to need the help of all of the users, like Mr. Henderson here, and the others, and they all want to see it, you know. Once you're over the bump and everything is done, you'll never remember the you know, little things that hurt, you know.
So I have one quick thought that you've probably already thought of, the sidewalk along Coronado with the little houses that sell tickets to the pirate ship and everything really gets congested when all of their expecting passengers are huddled there and people trying to walk through and so forth. So I don't know if you have room to move that out with a little bit of docking and decking when the time comes, but boy, it would be nice if that gets wider.
Yeah, we will look at that. I mean, that sidewalk there is really Coronado right of way.
Yeah, you can't do anything with the sidewalk, so you can only add, you know, some dock boards.
So we have
To
to
the
look
side
at
of it.
that. Yeah, there's some challenges there, and you know, with modernization and such, you know, we have to look at these ticket booths. You know, everybody knows that those ticket booths are not permittable. So when the new marina comes in, they're not going to be there. They don't allow them, and that's not a city ordinance. That's a county regulation. You cannot have those structures on docks. Nothing we can do about that. But ticketing now, most people are buying their tickets online. They don't have to stand in line at a ticket booth. They come, you know, and as the years go by, you know, you could get your tickets from a kiosk, from a, you know, something that was just in a central location. Some of the ticket booths are more than ticket booths. They're gift shops and other services there, you know, that have been added on over the years. So, but a lot of that stuff will not be allowed on the new docks. That's just a county ordinance, and that's another challenge we're going to have. Are those things. So we're looking at all of those, where they're going to be in the marina, how we're going to manage those when the docks are torn up and these ticket booths are gone. How are these patrons going to find their boats and stuff? So we have a lot of challenges.
Okay, any further thoughts on the suggestions about the
One more
increases?
comment on
Yeah,
that St. Pete Marina, that I neglected to mention, they require me to go to Duke Energy and get my own power set up. I mean, the power's there, but I'm metered by Duke Energy individually, and it's way more expensive because it's just like you're doing your home or whatever. My electric bill should be, you know, $20 or $30 a month there, and it ends up being 70 or more sometimes. So that's why they handle it. I'm not saying that's the way we should handle it. I'm just saying that's the fact that the city's metering and billing that electricity is actually saving people money as opposed to having Duke individually bill everybody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so if you went to Duke, you could look at easily doubling or something your bill every month, so if they try to complain about us saying, hey, you gotta start paying for the electric.
You know, the way they handle it down there, I've got to go to Duke directly and set up my own power, have my own deposit and so forth, and I know it's more expensive than it would be if I was part of a larger.
They wanna complain, but they don't know how, lucky they are.
Yeah, you know. Everybody's poor. Everybody needs to, no matter what, everybody needs to make more. So I understand that, and it's fair. If he starts getting over market, then I'll be here saying, all right, this is getting ridiculous. You're taking advantage of us now. Anyway, enough said.
Okay. Don't know if there's any more on that item. The next one was director's report, which is probably everything that we just pretty much covered there. Unless you had something else.
Yeah, that was really
Yeah.
that was really my director's report. Mike, did you have anything you wanted to add, or?
If you want to talk about the gas study, which you did the commercial.
Oh, yeah. You want me to, or you want to talk about it?
If he talks, he's gonna have to stand up.
Okay. You know, we have the fuel system out at the marina. And, you know, when we redo the new marina, you know, we've got a fuel dock, which I'm trying to assess right now and protect our footprint there. It's a new marina that might affect what we can actually do. But one of the things is that a lot of our commercial users don't buy our fuel because our fuel is too high. So, and this is diesel. So the bigger boats, you know, don't always buy the diesel. So I said to Mike, you know, Mike was saying, you know, I wonder if we lowered the rate, could we keep our diesel buyers in the marina buying from us? You know, we're not losing any money, but Why are they going somewhere else? Because they can save 30 cents on a gallon. So we're doing a study now to see who's buying and who's not buying. And, you know, our rates on fuel are based on competitive rates elsewhere. You know, all of the marinas around, we base our rates on theirs. For diesel, for example, the biggest diesel users buy from us because we're right there at the pass. Nobody's buying diesel down in Largo or somewhere else. You know, they buy it from us, so because they're going to go out into the Gulf. So we're going to do a study, see where we are with who's not buying, who's buying, and what it would take to manage our diesel rate to keep those diesel users buying it here instead of some users are buying fuel at residential properties on island estates and having the mobile unit come and fill behind somebody's house. And that's happening all the time.
Yeah.
So they're going to Seminole to fill. So these and I don't blame them. You know, that's because our rates are too high. So we have the ability to correct that. We may not lose any money if we keep these other customers, you know. But again, those fuel sales stay with the marina. All of that fuel that we sell is part of our reserve funds. And fuel is expensive to maintain, the fuel system. Every time, the regulations is horrific. And we have a lot of glitches with certain things, and we're always having repairs to be made. So, you know, we don't make that much money on fuel when you figure out how much it costs us to provide it. So it's really a benefit to provide the fuel to the users and to the public.
Comment on that. I have a suggestion for you. We have a boat that we just put into John's Pass, and Mark Hubbard in Hubbard's Marina has fuel system there. And the way he charges, and we've come to an agreement where I'll buy fuel from him, as opposed to going somewhere else and getting a truck. We have it trucked into our South Pasadena location, so I know what the rates are to truck it in. And what he does is he'll take on 1,000 gallons at a time. I don't need 1,000 gallons at a time, but he'll charge me what the 500-gallon truck price would be. So he makes a little bit there. He's got income, and it's a convenience for me, so it's a win-win. What I would suggest you do, you're losing a lot of potential revenue from those fishing boats, okay? You could give them the benefit. I mean, you don't have to have these discounts. Oh, if you get so many gallons, everybody gets it. You know, no. You're your commercial tenants. This is their home. They deserve a little bit of break compared to the Boat US member that comes in and gets the same discount. That's ridiculous. Okay, now yes, I would benefit from this too, but that's not my point. My point is, on this board, you're losing revenue because you're charging too much and they're going elsewhere to get it. Why not charge a reasonable markup and you'll get all those extra gallons and you'll make a lot more money in the long run because you're getting them every other day or every third day, whatever they need to fuel, because they're going out in the Gulf and they're burning, that's their biggest expense is fuel. So if you minimize the markup on that, you're gonna be making money on your capacity where you weren't before. And that'll be more positive than turning them away and making a little bit more on the other tenants. Or, you know, we've got a fuel dock or a fuel pump right next to the Starlight Majesty for convenience, so we don't have to go tie the fuel dock up. That works quite well. It's on the way out there anyway. And they have their own capability to fuel, I think.
Yes.
So it's convenient for them too. What's the problem is they're going to that extra effort to take that boat all the way around the Island Estates to bring a truck in because they're saving that much and it makes sense to them. So why not mark yours up just a little bit? Compete with those trucks, you'll still make money, and you'll make a lot more in the long run because you're gonna get all those gallons. You're gonna get volume. You know, volume comes with a little more maintenance maybe or whatever, so you've gotta figure that out. But if you make it more attractive for them to get their fuel in the marina, you're gonna come out ahead.
And that's our goal, and Mike and I have been talking about this for a long time now. What we're doing now, we're just following the ordinance. And everybody has asked us before to, you know, can we get a break on the fuel? Can we do this? You know, well, we have to follow the ordinance to do that. So we're willing to change that. So that's why we're doing our study, because I know we can attract these users back and make more money than we're making now at a higher price, you know, and just through the sheer volume of it. And keep our commercial users, you know, we're asking more of them. We need to give too. We just can't take. So as Phil said, that's their biggest expense is fuel. So we need to do what we can to help support that effort, and we get the complaints all the time about this mobile filling in the neighborhoods. So that, it's kind of a win-win situation. So more, we'll give you at the next meeting, more to come on that, but it is our intent to do that.
Matter of, do you want to make 10%, or you want to make 20% on 1,000, or you want to make 10% on 5,000?
Yes.
Is
Get the
there,
percentages, look at the bottom line.
is there any regulation for the tenants of the marina that they can't bring in their own truck?
Yes.
And not, there's an
All right.
ordinance.
All right.
Yeah, that's what has driven all this over the years, because you cannot, we sell fuel at the marina, so mobile tankers cannot fill there unless our system is down. We have allowed that when we're having repairs and we can't get fuel, so we have to allow the mobile in there, and we have in the past, or for other reasons, we can do that, but as a general rule, no. It just doesn't mix well.
When I ran a fuel dock on Lake Erie, especially with the snowbird traffic every fall, you know, heading south, and every spring coming north, from 50 to, you know, the Chanticleer. Actually, I just saw something on Bob Hope, and they mentioned Francis Langford Evinrude, who owned the Chanticleer, two of them, and she'd come by every year. But I'd have the ones that would try to, in the middle of the night, have my fuel truck come in and fuel them over my dock when no one's around, and it's before the age of cameras. And I made a deal with my fuel guy. I said, you know, there's other people I can buy my fuel from. These people call you, you call me. Whether you tack on to make sure that because of my liability of you pumping fuel over my dock, one spill, they're going to come looking for me, not for you. You know, so he cut it in. We'd get a discount on our bill for any trucks that, you know, came in the middle of the night, saved me having to go down there and pump it for them. I only had a 2,000-gallon diesel tank, so, you know, I've had burgers in there with 7,500-gallon fuel tanks. No, he bought 7,500, which took 4 trucks, or two or three trucks. Actually, that burger was a 90-foot Sportfish, had a 15,000-gallon fuel tank. But that was a major part of our revenue, and we had special prices for those transit people, as opposed to the, you know, the 30, 40-foot pleasure boat from the marina down the road that, you know, we had to make a decent profit on. Getting around it, people are going to look for ways to get around it, and especially if I thought the marina, people were doing it at that marina, there's dangers, overflows, spillage, and my neighbor went to jail because he wanted to get rid of his tank, and they tried to pump out the remainder of the tank in the middle of the night, and they used a high velocity pump, so it sucked the gas, the water, everything out into the bay. But so people are always looking away with a dangerous situation with fuel to cut corners on it. So I think for safety reasons too, you want these customers coming to you. You don't want them going in the neighborhoods and running hoses through people's yards and out on docks and in residential areas. And you had it perfectly. You want to make, you know, $10 on 1,000 or you know, how much on 5,000. And I think that's a good way to look at it, is there's got to be a price cut in there somewhere where it can be profitable.
Well, we're both in business, you know, so, and business partners, you know, have to benefit each other, so that's why we're looking at this, you know.
Okay.
Okay. All right, any other comments from other board members? Anything else?
Wade, you're quiet today.
Well, you know, the only thing, Miranda, I know you're a new member, you had a lot of experience, so since you're new, introduce yourself a little
Oh,
bit
please.
to us too, if you don't mind.
What board were you on before?
I wasn't on the City of Clearwater board. So my story is I graduated from USF. While I was at USF, I was the marketing coordinator for a private yacht firm. So that's where I got my feet wet for the first time. And since then, I have started my own business, Top Knots, which is a concierge service. I help people get on the water. I try to talk to boat owners, or I refer them to other charters in the area. I also serve on the Clearwater Urban Leadership Coalition, which is the newly forming CRA in Greenwood. So that's where I get a lot of my board experience and community liaison experience from. And what we are looking to do with Clearwater Urban Leadership is help train high school students to get their captain's license so that they can have a new trade or another opportunity within Clearwater. And so I think that's it. That's
Okay,
it.
well, no, thank you. I know when I saw her application, she had a lot of, unique experience, so I wanted her to share that with you
Yeah,
guys.
thank you.
When I saw your name as someone new, it seems now months ago, I actually looked up your site and what you do there and stuff. It's very interesting.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I love the water now, so I'm really excited to be here. I did a lot of personal research to see what you guys are working on, which was in part of the conversation, and I do agree that the slip rates were really underpriced. I was ready to get one. I don't have a boat necessarily, but I thought it was, a drastic change. I'm a Pinellas County native, so I grew up here in Largo. I spent a lot of time at Sand Key. I did see, I guess, the third revision of the bridge be built. I was alive during that time, so I have a lot of roots in Clearwater, Pinellas County. And I don't know what I was making that point to say, but I'm happy to see the evolution of Clearwater kind of grow up. I spent a lot of my high school and college years in St. Petersburg, so I got to see that kind of evolution of downtown St. Pete. They're still maybe working on the Maximo Marina out there. That's where I spent a lot of my time as well. And so hearing some of these things that you guys are bringing up as far as fuel spillage, people in the middle of the night just doing some crazy things, it's really interesting to see that we have those issues here. And I just want to be a part of the conversation and research as well to see how we can combat those things.
Okay, great.
Super, great.
They're doing big things at Maximo. Am I right in that they're pretty much redoing that whole thing? Mike, do you know about that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I sold boats out of there 20 years ago.
Okay, do we need a motion to adjourn, I think?
You just say adjourn.
We just say adjourn, huh? All right, that's it.
Adjourned.
Adjourn.
Adjourned.
Okay, thank you.